Oi, oi. Hi, Campbell.
Hey, hey,
Good to see you,
we
brother.
did it.
Welcome to Flat Earth British. I'm glad to have you here. Didactic channel, YouTube. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, I'm glad you could join us. I know it's early in the morning for you. It's getting dark here. We're at the other end of the day. So, thanks for joining us so early. I know I should have got up earlier the other day, but you know things have been all over the place. So I do apologise. Thanks for doing it
No,
the other way around anyway. So yeah, I
all
thought we
good.
could catch up, talk about ongoing things in this field of alternative history, and have a few thinks about things, and let's have a little scroll through some pictures maybe, and catch up on a few things. So,
Sounds
I,
like a plan.
I've been looking into, this is coming off of what John Levy's video was looking into, which is the great expositions with possibly arrival stations or arrival places for people or populations after the Great Reset of possibly 1811. So the new arrivals after the takeout of Tartaria, okay, the endless people that show up, you know, the orphan children, etc. So to populate the place. So I went searching for evidence, and I thought a good place to start would be for the narrative of the first ever exposition that they say. And I found something. I'll show you now. Tell me what you think, right? You look at enough of these images to see what I'm seeing, right? And I'll show you now. So
That's
let me just share
spectacles.
screen a moment, please. Okay. Can you see that there?
Yep.
So what you're looking at there is from the second tower in its heyday of the Crystal Palace in London, okay? So
Yep.
I stared at this picture before for the longest time, and I just couldn't work things out. For the start off, this is the first ever, right? The narrative is it got set up, first of all, in Hyde Park in London, taken down, no evidence I can find for this, rebuilt in this area of London, near, you know, Alexandra Palace, etc. Now, I'll show you some of these photographs of this thing's development apparently, and I'll tell you what I think's going on. I spotted clues as well. So this is the first one, the first exposition, right? It's in 1853, so it's 2 years ahead of the Paris first one of 1855. And the first thing I thought is, hang on, it looks exactly like a railway station or a market. And the larger one in the background there would easily fit like a barrage balloon or a zeppelin if it was to float in. You see what I mean? And then the extended bit
Definitely.
is like a chit. Now, notice the facade, right? The front bit. Do you see the front bit?
Yep.
Now, I've seen this front bit like 100 times in Middle Ages depictions. It's either in these Middle Ages depictions as the Kingdom of Heaven or Zion, or that building you see in heaven floating around because of the dome and these, and it's very similar to King Herod's temple as well, I've noticed in its design. So the narrative, the thing is with this, right, if this narrative is to work, right, is this thing inside has fully grown oak trees inside it, okay?
Yep. Yep.
So the idea is this thing's being built over oak trees, okay? Now, in my mind, them oak trees would need 400 years to grow. I think, and I think we got good evidence here in this vlog now, is that this facade and much of this building here, okay, was just all the glass was smashed after the reset and the frame was still there, okay? And like everything after reset, it just got repurposed. But check out that bunker booth there. Can you see that, Campbell? Yeah,
Here. Yep.
yeah. So I was pondering it and I thought, all right, first of all, over the other side by here, we got really cracked old paving or some sort of old stonework. The trees, not very old. And then I started to look at this and I thought, all right, is that for ticket sales? Right, well, British winters, wouldn't it be better to have the ticket sales, say, inside the building? Remember, right, this is 900,000, over 900,000 square feet. Nearly a
Mm,
million square feet of exposition space. Right, monumental in size.
man.
So I thought, well, that wouldn't be for that sort of, you know, size of building, just one little ticket centre. It's not exactly a fairground. But then I noticed the shadow, and the thing is made of metal. and it's completely empty and hollow, but you can see a sort of structure inside of sort of steel. Can you see that, Campbell, there?
Yeah.
So it's hollow. It's not a kiosk, is it? It's not selling tickets. It's completely something different. I can't really, substantiate what it is, but so I was thinking, definitely what Gian Levy said. This fits it. It looks exactly like a London railway station. It looks exactly like all the other Crystal Palaces that are all over every single exposition, and they all look like arrival places. No doubt about it. He's right there. So let me just exit this. I'll show you this a second. Now, this is supposed to be photographs of it being built, Campbell, right?
Nice.
Right. Except it's not, again, it's what we're always finding, isn't it? The superstructure is already there, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So what we're always finding, and notice what's underneath there. Can you see these two circles?
Yep.
Yeah, so is that a sewerage system or is that from something else? Now, in my mind, that's all covered in mud. And there's all the trees outside there that are literally touching up to it. So in my mind, would you really put the facade of a brand new building up, literally butting up to a grown tree? Can you see that there?
And
right?
That's a big tree. I mean, you couldn't.
You couldn't.
You couldn't. You'd have to cut all the roots in order to kill the tree.
Exactly. So, and you've got the same on this side as well. So I'm thinking, for them full-size oak trees, which you'll see in a minute inside, then this facade must have been there already, and the glass must have been missing. Now, this thing in the narrative exists for X amount of years. It burns down. Apparently glass and steel and classical statues burn. In 1932, nothing left of this place. But you'll find that for most expositions. So there it is. And this is from 1854. It's been going 2 years at this stage. You could easily pull a balloon in here, no doubt about it whatsoever. In its original purpose, or even like a train platform, even. But the quality of all of it, and they're indoctrination centres, because what you find with the first one ever is they bring in amazing scientists, no doubt about it. And it's all classical Phoenician art, every bit of it, no doubt about it. Nothing else is exhibited. They bring in a dinosaur exposition. Hang on, dinosaurs were only invented at that time with the Bone Wars, to fill the British Museum that was being developed exactly the same time as this. But check it out though, these people, they're always in the same sort of uniform clothes, aren't they? He's like in communist Russian clothes, with that cap, and very bland, very samey, like they picked him up somewhere. Like a quarter.
I've often wondered if they found warehouses full of clothes or something, and just because everyone always wears the same clothes.
Them Mitchell and Keenan videos that we show, that John Levy was showing this morning. They're absolutely stunning, Edwardian. I'm wondering, right? They even state on that documentary, right, how is it we know so little of the Edwardian world? Now, this is like after Victorian, so that's 1906 up to when Edward died, so, leading up to the First World War. So 11 years is in, that's all. But we know, that's in the 1900s, we know nothing about the Edwardians. It's the most unusual of things. They'll even state, in these documentaries, Keenan, how can we know so little of these people? But he's showing these people, and they all got the same clothes on, haven't they? They're all So yeah, it's just everything is the highest of quality. It's the programming. They're showing you the sciences. There it is. Sorry, it's not a bigger image. That's 1932. So apparently glass and steel burns. Don't know how that happens. And there it is in its heyday. So what they find is it's all about other countries, isn't it? They'll show you.
Yeah.
This is Turkey here, and different countries stuff.
So they're literally creating the story and re-educating people and sending them out into the world with this new vision of the world they wanted. Yeah,
you got it, exactly that. Same with this Egyptology, and it's from the Phoenician concept, going with the Rosetta Stones, not the other history of the Egyptian Phoenicians we found out about. These sphinxes, you know, it's just indoctrination. So they get the ancient Egypt and the dynasties, you know, program.
Very much like the globe, you know, in the schoolroom. You know, if you see it from day dot, it just becomes a reality, doesn't it?
Well, they did it with these. You know, there was the planisphere in the New York Exposition, and it was just a giant spinning sphere. To do programming, I think it's there in the present day. I think you can go round and round in
yeah, big one, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing about these the Crystal Palace is if it had fully grown oak trees in it, inside, and oak trees are, you know, cold weather trees. You put an oak tree inside a glass building, which is a hothouse.
Exactly.
It's not going to fare very well.
No.
So the whole narrative of there being glass in there while those trees were growing or living, it doesn't really make sense.
That is such a good point. I think that kills it there. It doesn't make no sense. No.
It makes a lot more sense that the glass was smashed out and the trees have just seeded themselves and grown in natural, you know, the natural environment.
So that's another thing they were pushing, was animate. You know, some of the earliest ones in America, you see these big Berthas, really high-end howitzer. So it's showing the world, this is the British Empire, so it's showing the world at this stage that we got the biggest navy in the world. And if you're visiting, you know, millions are pouring through. We got this incredible armament too. So I know it's not other countries that are shouting it. They don't have like a row of Japanese guns. It's always the British Army or the Imperial Army. So that's us, you know, the Empire. So there she is outside. It is absolutely fantastic, no doubt about it. This walkway is there today. You can go on here and this balustrade is still there. It's just nothing there.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got a photograph of it. So you can sit up on that hill and look down at all London. It's really lovely. So yeah, that is definitely in my mind an older building. The narrative doesn't fit. That's another Crystal Palace in America, that is. And they're all, no matter where, I'll show you a few more now, no matter where they are, they're all the same design and they all resemble stations or maybe some sorts of churches. And somebody said something interesting about portals in buildings today that was really fascinating. And I was like, whoa, check that out, right? See that?
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be the existing plan, okay, for the facade, the rebuild of the Crystal Palace in, you know, the first exposition, right? So first thing you notice, right, is it's rubbish. For a blueprint, it's supposed to be the Victorian era, okay? Can you see the state on this?
It's like a kid's bloody art project from year 2.
So that's that evidence that this thing was built at that time, okay? Is that? This is my search for blueprints, and that's all I could find. And I searched for ages and ages for it. I do with all the buildings, you know, I look at the blueprints, the photographs, the evidence of this stuff existing. Excuse me. So yeah, it was absolutely the money spent on just brainwashing with Egyptology, and this is the opening as well. Highly interesting photograph. This, who you can see there is Queen Victoria. There.
Oh,
right.
Nice. Yeah.
And the gentleman there is Napoleon II.
Oh.
The replacement for his uncle, Napoleon. So,
Napoleon, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Queen Victoria. I don't know who the other lady is, but I don't know. I think it might be Mary. I'm not sure. So yeah, they were there at the opening, and they do a ritual, a sort of satanic ritual, if you like. But they only used oils and herbs and powders and stuff, and they place it under a ceremonial foundation stone. Okay, so it's not the foundation stone; it's a ceremonial foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
they even tell you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's pictures of her actually doing this in the opening of this building. You know, it's the whole ritual goes on with it as well. So there's the site. There's that
German, wasn't she?
Yeah. There's the staircase up to it, and there's that balustrade I just showed you on that old photograph, still existing. What a shame, huh?
What's going on with this tower? Looks a bit drunk.
I don't even know. I suppose it's just a television antenna. They put it up on the hill because it's quite a commanding view from up there. It's like there's that balustrade in the modern day.
That's it. Wow.
Still there.
What's that? A tiki sort of?
Well, it's sort of. I can't mag up. I'm sorry with this, but it's.
Polynesian or something.
Yeah. I need to get there. I need to go and have a little scout around. I do. Have a little nose. So there's the grand opening. They had 2 openings apparently. So excuse me. And that's supposed to be it, the building. But yeah, I get that the centre, the side bits were very possibly new because they look like in the inside as well. But like you can see this bit you're going at. But that main bit, the T going through, no, that's the original. That's there already. There's pictures of the builders.
It's just a mess around. It looks all flooded out. You know?
It's just like I've worked on building sites, Campbell. You've got to keep them clean places, or they're really dangerous.
Exactly.
Nobody seems to be doing anything bad digging mud in this picture, as far as I can see. And there's inside, and everything again is built, ready. We're always finding it. And then they put a dinosaur.
Nice.
in the forecourt. First one ever, and they put dinosaurs in.
and it's interesting, isn't it? Because like you said, they had like the Egypt in there, and they were sort of showing England as the dominant sort of force and the most, I guess, advanced civilization. And then just because the Egyptian culture had a different aesthetic and looked different, they just sort of went, oh yeah, that's because it was 5,000-6,000 years ago, when in reality it probably just wasn't. It just looked a bit different, and they just went, well, and that's how they sectioned up the history. Just push things backwards.
Agreed. This is how they do it. But look at the scale of this site. It's just...
That's ridiculous.
So all of it. It's this as well, all the way, the whole frame.
Yeah.
Basically. And that picture...
Geometry everywhere.
The first picture we seen was from that tower, but you don't see... You see to this bit here, but you don't see the entire length again at the back. It's that big. You don't see this bit in that first photograph. It's just
it's huge. And how much do these look like airport towers?
Oh, how much?
Control?
Well, that's what we were. That's what another thing we were talking about before, maybe 2 years ago now, was looking at this, and we weren't even thinking stations. We weren't even thinking arrival depots of balloons and railway and underground. But look at this thing here. It looks like a solar panel for a start off. And these towers, right, well, what need would they have had to anything to do with this? Viewing platforms, you'd only need one. So what are they? So it's part of it. And they'd either end as well, adjacent as well to the building. They have to be something to do with free energy, both of them. Did you watch John Levy's, what he done with the magnets?
Oh, yeah.
So imagine these two as magnets the same way, a copper around them and a magnet, okay? Yeah. And like there's the light bulb, the big light bulb in the middle. If you made them big enough, he said, and you ramped it up, would that work? I know.
Definitely, yeah, and I mean, it's all glass as well, isn't it? Is there some, like, was that frame working as some kind of filament? Like, did it light itself up? Was it self-lighting?
That is incredibly interesting. That is a definite possibility. Some sort of like solar luminescence locked in, starting the jar technology into the infused into the glass. Like
huge kind of light bulb, but diffused.
Yeah, that could so work. If they haven't done it, they should have.
They should, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of classical art, all of it destroyed. I think it's evidence. I don't think all of this is obviously apparently original. So I think that that's just another show off of the spoils of taking over an empire or civilization.
What are your thoughts just on that photo? What are your thoughts on statues being actual people that were in the mud flood and were fossilized?
For sure. I think some of these artists, like I studied Bernini for quite some time, and I can't get my head around why that guy was so, it seems they're all so prolific. How prolific were the Beatles in their short time? You know what I mean? Can anyone really do all that work? So he was just like exceptionally prolific with big statues, monuments in Rome and everything, and he made these exquisite pieces of Ovid's Metamorphoses and other stuff, right? And then when you study them up close, not only are they flawless, but they sort of resonate like they're alive, and everyone who sort of encounters them says there's something off with these. Now, it may have been some sort of densification process, it may have been like the film Carry On Screaming, where this, you know, like sort of waxworks type of thing, where they just turn them into stone, you know, or maybe, or it could be a Pompeii effect.
Exactly. Well, we see almost the same thing, just not as in good condition. But yeah, exactly, it could be that as well.
Yeah, but they could
because we've got that boot. There's that cowboy boot, and what was that, from the 1800s, 1880, and it had a completely fossilized leg in it. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Right, I haven't heard of that. That's incredible. So
they found that in Arizona, I think, and it was they actually found, like, it was a fossilized leg inside a cowboy boot, and they could still read the maker on the boot, and they actually went and found the people who had made this boot. They found the actual company, and literally it had a stone leg inside it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it happens. We know it happens anyway. Definitely.
It happens, yeah.
Another thing we're thinking about, right, do you know breasts? Or heads?
Do.
Yeah, you do, I know. I do too. So this one, yeah, like they have just the head and the chest breast.
Yeah, yep.
The elites are nuts on them, and Churchill got to have a breast, and Napoleon got to have one. And I was wondering if there was more about it, if there was more about collecting the head and the chest. So I got to thinking about, like, you know, predictive programming in, you know, modern day culture, and there's a program called Futurama. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Bender and etc. Well, the world leaders are on their heads in jazz, okay, and their technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have Nixon, yeah, and he's still dictating from a head in a jazz. I'm wondering if they literally could reanimate heads using some technology in the past, and reanimated world leaders, and breasts are harping back to that period where dictators could have been just heads dictating.
Just
the heads.
And we still have that. We still have that saying, don't we? Talking heads to do with politics.
Heads, the heads of state. Yeah.
Heads of state. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, because they do predictive program, and I think there's something with breasts here. I can't work out the psychology of why you would need a head and a breast. Somebody.
Well, it's weird when you think, why were they making busts? Because you think, what is it? Is it because they were saving time because it wasn't such a big sculpture? But then you've got to think, in these full-size sculptures, and we all know it just takes one missed hit, and that whole sculpture's gone. You know, so it's like
start over again. It just makes no sense. There's no room for error then, is there?
No, it doesn't. And it just doesn't. You know, like, I don't know, a bust where they stuffed up the legs and arms and they cut them off. And like, it just doesn't make sense. And that one with the fisherman, I mean, that's just completely just ridiculous.
I know. This is another part, isn't it? The three energy fireplaces. They're showing them here as well. They're just steel inlays. Made by Sheffield Steel, so they just, all of it is steel because they're showing you with Sheffield, so nice. They are very nice. Somebody's outlined them. Oh no, it's the ropes. So yeah, the social engineering, that was definitely part of it, no doubt about it. Let me just go a bit further. There you are. And Paris is exactly the same. That's the next one, the 1855, look, and they got the same thing going on. Oh, excuse me. Exactly, same thing going on. It's the same building, the same shape, exactly the same. So I think these things were definitely there and part of this Tatarian culture, no doubt about it. Can't find anything about this thing going up from the start. Same thing, it's amazingly vast. Look, plants and everything, and trees inside. Yeah?
It's just a bizarre narrative, isn't it? I'm just thinking, God, you know, if these were greenhouses and people were coming up and, you know, there was food and all this kind of technology and wonders in there, I mean, I don't know, is that kind of linked to the Garden of Eden, people coming up from underground into these wonders and then told to go and populate the earth.
No, that wouldn't even surprise me. Nothing is beyond the bounds of possibility.
What do they say? Go forth and
multiply,
procreate, or populate, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that would actually make sense. Wherever they are, some of them pictures John was showing on that video, them people look like they arrived on another planet. Excuse the phrase. Yeah, if that was a thing. You know, they were just wide-eyed, like in total awe, like they'd never been anywhere ever. And all their clothes are identical. And like you said, you never see children at fun fairs, right, for adults. And all of the seaside resorts are what, for adults. You know, we were saying, what's going on? They all having like naughty, you know, like dirty weekends away. What is going on? How are they all adults? And, you know, and just the formal dress as well. Everyone's dressed to the T. Boiling up beach. What? And you never see no towels. You don't see towels and stuff like that. They go in these cubicles and do an anomalous dress. I was even wondering if they were arriving through them at one stage.
Doctor Who style.
Yeah, like a TARDIS, just pop through in there. But yeah, we've put loads of evidence. This building here, you know, looks like you know, proper Greco-Romano, and it's absolutely stinking dirty, and they don't last 2 minutes, these buildings, and they all suffer fire. But let me just show you these here. These are quite good. I don't know whether you've seen this, but do you know in Paris Exposition, the first one, this is sort of the totalitarian ideal, is you don't have to walk to work. All you have to do is hop on the pavement. It will take you there. So, I love it. And why haven't we got...
That was what, 18... Was that Paris, did you say, 1850s? Or?
Yeah, this is the Paris. This is the later one. What you find with the Paris Exposition of 1853, it was an industrial one, the ones and pictures I just showed you. But all of this facade that blows our mind, that's all on the same, that has all disappeared now. And you can see these Phoenician statues, these are dirty and old, these ain't new. And you've got the same spooky plaque on the front of the pillars. So we were wondering, you know, is this just scrubbing of the previous occupants and rulers of this place? But we think now that these are something more. We think there's something to do with mirrors and portals. But yeah, so that's the later one. So that's when, you know, they put up the Eiffel Tower 1883, and this stuff went up around the same time, the same development, they say. But the scale, right? You know, they pull it all down, all of that. Okay, and they're saying this is all temporary, made of plaster of Paris. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that yesterday, because some of these buildings are still standing and they're clearly not made of plaster of Paris.
And something else as well that they say they have in these, like, 15 million came through in 1 year, and giant populations passing through. But the photographs don't exhibit that. It's very, maybe there a little bit. But look at that for a pont, for a bridge.
Yeah, wow, walking bridge too, footbridge.
Yeah, it's just like, when do they do that in the modern day? And this thing here, the entrance to it, that was free energy. That's these towers as well. You've got to be standing in this perspective, straight in front, like the Taj Mahal. Because if you walked in front, you wouldn't see that perspective. So that's free energy.
Is that 4 towers? Are there 2 at the back there?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I don't know. I think there may just be strange, really high cable things like flagpoles, I guess. But even flagpoles are energy gathering. So, you know, flags are. They just put vanes in them. You can get them in the modern day. They gather charge. So check that out, right? So they're trying to lead you to believe that was built in that period. Yet, it's got the alchemical Phoenician decoration all over it. But you can see, look, I know, but look, still underneath, right? I know it stinks. I can't stand it when they do this, right? I can still see Tartaria under that building. You know, the squares and the shapes of the roof. Yeah. And then they've all of this, like they decorated the cake after when they come in. And touch all this stuff up. It's all mud flooded. So, look, the windows are down there and the door's up in the air. Huge door for giants, again. So yeah, this is definitely makes sense when they all arrive through these places. Introduce them to, this is the world, these are the countries, this is the tech. I notice they don't touch on religion much in these places.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so there's another one of those crazy Phoenician, whatever they are, waterfalls. But this building in the background here is in the shape of a ship. I think it's the Maritime Museum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got bows on the front, and it's just could not be more ornate. It's just, I got a picture of it in colour. It is absolutely mind blowing. What's that outside there? Do you think?
This
is a cable laying machine.
It's definitely not a crane. Yeah, it is a cable lay. Yeah, okay. It's got the spool there too. Yeah, right.
Right. So the question is, right? It looks like a railway station. It looks like Mumbai Central, right? It looks like it's in India. Okay, yeah, it's in Paris. Massive dome. Okay, over the door again. Wow, what decoration! But why are they laying cables in it? It's just crazy.
When's this? 30s, 40s, maybe?
No, man, all of that disappeared by then. It was well gone by the First World War. No,
yeah. Really? Wow.
No, man, it was the most narrowest window. I can't even believe it happened. If you look at the pictures of the Seine, from 1900 to say 1920, there's maybe 2 of them, 3 of them buildings left, and then they're gone 5 years later. How it happened, I don't even know. They just ripped all this down, apparently, like what you're looking at there.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
It just makes no sense either, because obviously it doesn't take a genius to work out we're looking at a 10 times better civilization, aesthetically, quality. Look at it.
Oh my God.
I know. It's just everything has got, detail to attention up here. Every single inch is thought about. Them trees don't look too new either, do they? If you was to bring them in, because this is all supposed to be muddy streets,
Well, they're people, so they're big trees.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that thing. Look at these things on the. Very futuristic, Campbell, aren't they? Wow.
They just look like modern bloody telecommunication towers, don't they?
Yeah, and with these bunko booths, that's like just white thing around here, like a solar panel, isn't it?
What is that?
It's supposed to be like a bunko booth, but what gets me with all of them is they've got Antiquitech on top, and this has got what looks like a portal on each side. So if it was for like just plastering advertising bollards on or what have you, why would it need these holes? Is it ventilation? Well, there's no one inside, so what's going on? So they're clearly not that originally for advertising or kiosks. There's something else. Does that look like solar panels or something?
Could be, yeah. It could be. They look kind of like valves.
They do look kind of like valves. And that bit at the top as well.
With like a pressure valve.
Yeah. Oh, it's highly interesting, especially with all the tech on that building.
And, well, if you can imagine, and what Victor and I were talking about with all water and stuff running underground.
Yeah.
Could that be some kind of valve that was, it's just to let out pressure so it sort of kept everything flowing? I don't know.
Well, you would need a pressure release. There's no doubt
you
about
would,
it.
Or else it'd just all clog up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd need something like a stopcock, like a ball, something that would release and vent and then fall back in again to block it again.
Exactly,
like that, a release valve. There's that one, look, the Maritime Museum. It's got like ship's bows on the front.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez. How would you build that?
I'm just... can't get my head around it. Right, so the architect built a design, but we just seen the quality of design that was available in London. And then they carry that out. They carry that out. And then they knock it all down. It's just to show the world, and then they knock it all down. And when you can clearly see it's older. Mudflooder.
Yeah, mudflooder. Yeah.
What about that tree there? How old's that tree?
Oh, yeah, if these are people, that's at least a 20, 30-year-old tree. Right. At least.
Curious, because, it didn't really stand that long. Check this tech out on the roof. God almighty. And
it's always going into copper, isn't it?
Always. Yes. And that dome as well with the vents on, the portals. It's not just for ventilation. We're talking about Paris here, not the Caribbean.
I've started noticing those on domes everywhere, those little portal window things.
Yeah.
And portals, it's interesting, the whole word, isn't it? Like portal and porthole.
Isn't it
and
ever?
Ships and, you know, the whole Phoenician water thing, maritime
law. Isn't it incredible? So that's why, you know, that's another thing that I thought about that led me on to think there's the realities of it, because of the Phoenician aspect, the portal. Wow. And then I got to, you know, thinking about Time Bandits, like I mentioned to you earlier, the film Time Bandits with Terry Gilliam. You know, you get these little dwarfs and they have a map to the back doors of this place, of this realm, of this simulation, if you like, and they can just go from one time to another, ripping people off. So that's supposed to be a new build that got knocked down. Look at it. It's just, what? And why would the windows be so bold and so high? They must be like 50-foot high windows. 2 stories high.
If you look, if they're 2 levels, this bottom level is clearly like half the size of the one top.
Yeah. I'm thinking them windows below are the same size as these windows here below ground level. Like that's what we usually find. You know, the whole thing is disproportionate. Anyway, you find this with these buildings; they're always top heavy and
heavy.
Always, and then, you know, to the eye and to the mind, hang on, there's something else going on. This thing's going deeper. Same with the church machines, the cathedrals, you know, with these flying buttresses that they say they're designed to keep these walls up. Yeah, I see other walls with no flying buttress and they're absolutely fine. So I think they're going deeper, they're part of this mechanism, you know. But look at that one there.
The funny thing about flying buttresses is the story says they were building all these cathedrals for hundreds of years and they were standing up, but then they suddenly needed to invent flying buttresses to keep the walls up.
Weird, isn't it? Yeah, they're part of the tech. There's no doubt about it. The strange ribbing. We put metal through that as well, you know, which we found in some cases. So yeah, they find the time to build an exhibit of every country in the world. So that's like Belgium, and they do. I think this is Bosnia.
Wow.
And an English country house rebuilt in Paris for people to visit, so they know what a country home looks like. Is any of this making sense? Because it's just
exactly right.
Sounds like the Twilight Zone. And Germany, check it out. It's insane. Alemania, Germany. It's just wow.
I'd like to know what all these buildings are for, because there's clearly, they've all got a function. You know, you get so many different types of designs, and it's like, we know what, you know, we've got cathedrals that were some kind of, I don't know, vibrational machine, but, you know, like with the Parliament buildings with the columns and that, you know, what was their function? And then you get these sort of, you know, the castles, and then you get the ones with the big copper roofs on them. And
yeah, you're right. What about the giant hotels as well, Campbell? With like they're all kitted out with Antiquitech on the roofs, like they got something else going on. You know, like the New York ones. You know, they're just absolutely insane. So
I mean, I just wonder if these were even for housing.
For them,
you know, I'm just wondering if these were just big
Phoenician houses,
or big machines.
That looks.
And people weren't actually living in the cities, but they were going there to do whatever, to socialise and go and up their energy in the cathedral or make their stuff, but were actually living out in nature. It's just, you know, this call of nature thing, especially at the moment, it's really, everyone's feeling this call of nature. But when we look back at Tartaria, I mean, there were trees and gardens and that, but it's just a lot of buildings, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It'd almost be like living in a big city today, and that's obviously not conducive to humans. It doesn't. Yeah. You know, it's freaking everyone out.
It is freaking everyone out. The vibrations off in the city. Soon, you know, I went on a country hike. I usually do most days now. I live 10 minutes from the countryside, and as soon as I got back to the country, the vibration instantly felt different. I was like, you know, I could feel it. But yeah, this picture here, doesn't it scream tech to you? Because it does to me. It's so technical. It's just wiry and. See this?
It is.
Look at that crown as well, with that giant, what looks like Van de Graaff generator on top, doesn't it?
Yeah? It does.
I know. Can't think what else it is, but it does look like. And this bulb as well. These you've seen with Victor the other day. Yeah. You can't pull that off.
Self-illuminating. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for sure electric. But they're you know, I got endless images of these things being electrified and anomalous technologies. Look at that for just a wooden crossing. You know, so it's just a wooden walkway, right? And they need these giant steel uprights.
Yeah,
and
bollards and stuff.
Just for that.
And just the size of the pole, like this pole, like look at, compared to this dude, it's like 5 times as tall.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, there.
We tried to find some giant balustrades, but the balustrades were usually maybe replacements in a lot of these places, you know, for the staircases. Because the balustrades
there's
are giant.
One.
Yeah, we're not high.
There's this giant one in, I think it's in France.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of the cement balustrades you see everywhere, but it's way above people's heads. It's like 7 foot tall for the
wow.
for the crossbeam. Yeah, I think Conspiracies Are Us, I think, shows it on one of his videos where he's talking about giants.
I think I missed that one. Let's catch up. What do you reckon on that then? The double loop. It's got like a filter going up, made of metal. You've got the loop wired, and there's another loop, just exactly like an antenna. And there's the one below. If that's not a television, oh, excuse me. What did I do? Oh, if that's not a television aerial, I don't know what it is.
It's the same one, but yeah.
Excuse me. No, I just clicked the link.
It all looks a lot like, you know, the cartoons we were shown as kids and how they sort of showed, you know, technology and all these sort of spacey technology. It was all that kind of look, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, you look at the Jetsons. Look at the pictures in the Jetsons. Oh, yeah,
the Jetsons, for sure. Yeah, that's a definite clue. They all do it. They do it with all of them. I'm telling you, they predictably program our asses with these. Can you see that now, Campbell?
Yeah, I can see that. That's predictively programming people to become factory workers.
Yeah, exactly. But you'll see Lamartiere's got his fingerprint on this place as well, and you'll see Tesla working with Westinghouse as well in these places. Giant crystal palaces. And we've proposed, now this thing here is strange, isn't it? This giant antenna in the middle of Paris, you know, and it's taken some changes, and these things have been removed on this gantry here over time. There were aerials all the way along. I'll show you now. I'll go back. Excuse me, let me just make that bigger. Oh, I got it. It's in the next image. But basically, they're removed in the modern day, as you can see, the whole thing. So you find exactly the same for my city, the Royal Hotel. It's an absolutely amazing building. It's historical. Captain Cook went in there, etc. But I got a photograph of it in 1900. Clocks, statues, Phoenician statues, massive aerials, all wrought iron. In the modern day, they took it all off. There's just a bland corrugated iron roof. Look at the size of this thing.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, it looks like the entrance to the Gare du Nord in Paris to me, like a railway station. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
So anomalous tech as well, you'll find. You know, tech that doesn't really fit for the era. Like these towers we see all over, which got the energy gatherers. So they were literally showing you, like that one in Russia, in Novigrad. Some of the technology they were spoiling there was mind-blowing. See, the same with the onion domes. That, again, like Van de Graaff generator, isn't it?
It is, and what are they actually displaying?
What I would say is a giant...
What are they telling people that is? Is it like, come and see a 2-story tower?
I don't know, but it's a part of another tower as well, and it's exactly right. Yeah. What is it?
So it's got to be something. They've at least got to tell people it's something, but obviously it's got to be something as well. It's just not some random
viewing platform or what have you. Same, and the Twin Towers of Tartary. The same, the same technology for illuminating. It could easily be that, couldn't it?
Well, I mean, Boaz and Joaquin, right?
Yeah, it's with the towers for sure. They tell us everything in code, don't they?
They do.
And look at these things here. See
these? It's like a rocket ship of, oh God, I don't know.
Looks like nesting technology to me, because if you nest things in the proper order, geometrically wise, you can create energy. You can create energy from just sounds. You can create power from sounds. It's sounds low. Resonance creates energy.
Yeah, and shapes and things.
Shapes, you got it. The shapes. You have to put it in a certain way, and then the shapes can create. You got it. This place is shapes and sounds, and I'm looking into consciousness studies at the moment. That's my thing, to know what consciousness is, what we are, what this is, how we perceive reality. I'm looking into.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, everything we perceive, it's all inside our heads. We don't see anything outside.
Do you think that look, obviously they're saying, like, I'm not good with their consciousness is mental processes, rubbish at all. But they're saying that there's a projector in the back of your mind, through all the electrical synapses and that, so all your reality is in your mind. You're seeing it in your mind, which means all and everything out there is in here. So is that the case? Because I really don't think so. I think that this place is malleable. It's more like a simulation than anything else. It's either this is a simulation or I've got superpowers, one or the other. So yeah, they burnt that out. Look at this. Again, how'd you get a fire on steel?
Is that?
Yeah, that's that technology taken out on 2 levels in a later fire.
So, that is supposed to be a fire?
Yeah. Burned that technology out.
What?
Yeah, no, really, yeah. It's apparently a tower made of steel. What's the date of that? 1905, yeah? And it's on the top level, the next level down, the next level down, the next level down. All of this taken out.
And it melted steel, but it didn't weaken the tower. The tower stood for another 120 years without any problems.
No structural problems whatsoever. Isn't that weird? It didn't even warp.
Wow, interesting. They got cool fire, these people, haven't they? Very.
I wonder what technology could have done that.
I mean, was it just electricity back then, before people really knew what electricity could do, and they were just pretending it was fire? I mean, I don't know.
No, I think it's a much wider, like, the technology you just mentioned of nesting technology, aquatech, and definitely making energy from resonance, which is, I think, part of this technasmia technology. It's all about sound and vibration and resonance, and you can create energy and power from resonance. I was thinking that's how they were refueling the ships. I was thinking that them portals you see, they're really small, some of them, but they're interlocking and they look a bit like a plug socket. I thought, like they refuel jets in the sky. I thought, is that what's going on? They just pass by, plug in, refuel on a resonance charge, and then off they go again. On that sort of technology, proper free energy. Yeah, I know.
I wonder if lighthouses had anything to do with that.
They're a part of the narrative as well, 100%. Lighthouses are a big part of it. I've been looking into one of the oldest in Britain on my vlogs about 3 years ago, and it just, nothing fits, and it's got technology you shouldn't have. But like talking about technology we shouldn't have, what are these doing here? What would you do with a valve that big in the Victorian era?
It's just mad. This looks like the lineup of TARDISes from different cultures across.
Oh my God, this so does. It looks like each one of them are a bunko booth of a different style. But what could they be if they're not any, technology?
Well, this is the thing. What could they? I mean, they have to be technology. But
because look, they're with these, these little Tesla towers, and that's obviously going to get a charge between them two and arc, isn't it? You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So wow. But again, that's a lie outside of the narrative. You've only got to pick it up.
But I mean, I guess if that technology's out and it's all around the world and it's on buildings, you'd probably want to teach people, oh no, it's just this. It's not really technology. It's just this, so that people don't poking around.
Yeah, like that anomalous silver thing in the corner of the room, for example. Whatever could it be? Whatever could it be? They're there in the museum as well. Just like stacking technology again, though. It's like a load of steel plates, if they are steel, one on top of the other, reducing all the time, so pyramid shape, so stacking, and they get to a pinnacle. So this is going to create some bumper charge, no doubt about it.
There could be a resistor as well.
They could be alternating magnets as well.
Alternate, yeah. And John Levi pointed out that a lot of these domes, when you look at the tops, there's always 5 of them, 1 in the middle and 4 around the outside.
Oh, is that so?
I mean, yeah.
That's interesting.
So I'm wondering if that's got to do with the whole geometry thing as well, because obviously when you look down on top, that's kind of the shape of looking down on the top of the pyramid, isn't it?
Yes.
With the 1 in the middle and the 4 outside.
Oh, I think he's onto something. Yeah, definitely there. Look at that. What a trippy place. That is mind-blowing. Imagine walking through there 150 years ago. Just blow your mind.
It would be like coming into the Garden of Eden or something, just, you know, if you've come up from underground to see all these wonders, because, I mean, people from today going in there would just be blown away.
You know, even the narrative of ships, if you think that only a short time, maybe 50 years before you're looking at this, ships were all wooden and copper hulled. Apparently, you know, the first steel ships are like coming along in the the Great Eastern in the mid-Victorian era, 1840s at least, earliest, the steel ships. Yeah. And then the ironclads, the English, the American Civil War, etc. And I'm thinking, so that's a bit of a giant leap from wooden ships and ropes to what we're looking at here in such a, in the same generation. You could have been a boy on the wooden ships and, middle-aged, you would have been looking at this stuff. Does that make sense, that level of development?
Not at all. I'm just thinking about the industry you would need just to make the sheet metal for the side of one of those ships.
Wow. What about that? Well, what about delivering all the glass and the metal and the stone?
And the fact that glass they weren't even making enough glass at the time to even fit out that palace. I've looked into it, and the first glass works were like the 1850s, and it was just handmade, and what the hell is...
Fully electrified, but what you see is these anomalous sort of, I suppose they look like antennas, but they're everywhere, and they got like little strange things on the bottom. They look like giant lances, like Victor was showing on his last post, which I will link up when I show this, definitely, because that is a brilliant little post. I really enjoyed that. So so on the money. And transport, of course. Their gang again, Rolls Royce. And they've done them there later as well. It's crazy.
And when you look at the old cars, they look like there's 2 different sizes. Have you noticed that when you look at cars from sort of the 30s and 20s, some of them are huge. Like the actual bodies on them are just huge.
Yeah, jalopies. They used to get 50 and like 80 people in them. I've got photographs of them. They're called jalopies. Massive. Yeah,
and then you get these little ones next to them, and they're supposedly from the same time.
Does that make sense?
No, it's just all weird.
And they start out electric as well, and then they go petrol with a big scam. It's just, come on. Anyway,
exactly.
Remember, you've seen them images with Victor, and he was showing you them anomalous lines coming out of Starfort, yeah?
Yeah.
And this is Starfort, Vienna, right? Only what it shows is only the Cathedral of Vienna in there, and no buildings at all at that period. That's what it shows. So it shows line of sight to these lines here, doesn't it? They're all jetting off. You see them?
Yeah.
Just under your photograph there, sorry. So they are... According to this, they're supposed to be battlements, okay? For the battle of whatever that is, okay? But that makes no sense to me, because basically they are lines that are going in, aren't they? And they're going into the wall here. And they look like veins, and they're just extending out. To me, it looks much more like a tunnel network, which we'll see anyway. These things are just... You see that?
Yeah.
And they are literally going into the building, so they're not like... If they are lines, they are their lines, and not an enemy lines. But... That's just their narrative, isn't it? Again, and I see this on so many Starforts. Interesting to note that there's no buildings inside again. Oh, that is... I took that in my local St John's Church in Cardiff, and I asked the theologian woman and my friends, what's the deal with the eagle? Why's he got his wings open? And, you know, is there any link to, you know, Freemasonry? And she just, like, went bright red in the face and jumped to the defense. They always do. But I'd say it was more of a phoenix. But even the church will have the wings open eagle, the Phoenician, you know.
Symbolism, yeah.
Yeah. So these things, like a step in technology as well, they reduce every time. If you put shapes inside these, you know, certain shapes, certain mounted side shapes, which would need, oh, excuse me, that's interesting, which would need no space. What's that? Oh yeah, that's interesting. The Irish Celtic mythology trees. So oak, hawthorn, willow, alder, ash, rowan, birch, alder, reed, ivy, vine, hazel. Oh, it's funny they got. We had Dutch elm disease and they all died. Do you remember that?
The what disease?
Dutch elm disease.
In Ireland, was it?
No, the whole of Europe. They all died in Britain. They just died and rotted from the inside. I don't think there's hardly any left, if I'm honest. Well, that's interesting. These three spirals. I see that everywhere on old Celtic gravestones and stuff. That's populated.
If you flip that so it's like the two circles at the bottom and the one at the top, that's that shape you see on all the cathedrals.
So is. It so is. Yeah. Well, I seen a van today with hubcaps that had a flower of life on them. I so thought that was cool. I thought, wow, yeah, I know. Flower of life on hubcaps, man. I thought that is so decent. So yeah, I collect a lot of these, like Victor. But look at that.
So are you sort of suggesting that these could be stacking technology as well?
Yeah, sure. If you look at it, going down interlocking. Now we've all, you know, realised by now that, you know, it's based on fractal geometry. There's something deeper going on, so we can, you know, think about that alchemical knowledge, you know, bursting forth out of the ether technology, nesting technology, making an energy from power from shapes, which is a definite thing. So look at it interlocking. It's almost as if the whole thing will go and move, but yeah, one on top of the other, on top of the other, even more really. I know it's like an optical illusion, isn't it? It's like there's more layers than there actually is. There's only 1, 2, 3, but if you look, it goes more and more and more. So yeah, it's just the dimensions on it are absolutely insane. It's just the most same lines coming off though. Same lines coming off.
Everywhere, yeah.
Do you know Colm Ghibli? He's like the go-to man for star thoughts, Irish fella. Colm Ghibli.
Colm, yep.
Yeah. He's seen some star thoughts on the eastboards of America, and they literally got where the points are here. They had lines, petroglyphs, and they were going off into the landscape, and very much like, you know, these circuit board cities or this layout that we see everywhere from the old world, linking up with them. They go hundreds and hundreds of miles over the landscape and connect up with other star thoughts. It's just unbelievable.
So, like those lines you see in the ground everywhere.
Yeah, just yeah. Well, yeah, you petroglyphs. Yeah, but you got to be able to see them, haven't you?
When you're on Google Earth and that, you see all these lines and shapes all through the underground.
I don't know what that is. It's a path we're going through, but these two things, I'm sure they're magnets, because you know, with angels blowing, it's not wind, it's magnetism, isn't it? So
yeah,
and the church machine in the background leading up to it. That could be that same technology Levy was on about. No doubt about it. So could these pillars, columns. They vibrate, don't they? Some of them. You can go through temples and touch them or bang them, and they ring and they vibrate at a specific frequency. And the Phoenicians are absolutely crazy on columns. It's all about the columns. Look at these. What do they remind you of?
Like insulators.
Yeah, man. Don't they ever look like insulators?
Notice
how Almy grabs all the best shots. I'm not sure what that is. Giants. I do collect many of these. That's Garden of Eden, but full of antiquitech again. And these strange doors they got to go through. And these things. You see them everywhere.
It's just mad. I read a book or a series when I was younger called The Wheel of Time.
Right.
Jordan, and same kind of concept. They had these thing called the ways, and they could and they were like tunnels, and they'd sort of go into these tunnels, and they had like maps, a bit like the that movie, I've lost the name, and they could sort of walk, and they were kind of outside of time and outside of the realm, and they'd kind of go around the outside and then pop back in through another door and be somewhere else.
Yeah, back doors through time. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
same
a film,
concept.
Called Adjustment Bureau, which deals with a similar theme with Matt Damon. Have you ever seen that?
No, okay. Is that similar to that Tom Cruise one?
Minority
the
Report.
Crime one, that crime one.
Minority Report. Minority Report.
Yeah.
No, it's more similar to Time Bandits, when they got back doors through to reality. They'll go through one door and they'll come out and they'll be in an empty stadium ahead of time and stuff. It's just really crazy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Circuit Board City's a thing. Definitely think that's a thing. No doubt about it. I'm sure you're not. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's on one of them. I've got like plans of Circuit Board Cities of Piranesi. Yeah, that looks more technical than anything. That looks like some sort of schematic for highly technical device from the far off future.
It does. It just does.
And this one as well. So there's them lines again, similar, coming out in a T-bar. But what they tell you, these are underground tunnels to siege batteries to get to them. So we know
like the Sapper technology and stuff.
So maybe in a previous time these were tunnels like again the London Underground today, out to different terminals maybe underground. We see these tunnels going further into the landscape, connected with churches. I just think what they could have been further back, because they're saying there's siege batteries now, which proves there's tunnels zigzagging underneath them, etc. But I think they look like the London Underground to me. It's very similar.
It could be. I mean, they do look like different terminals, don't they, at the edges there? Oh my gosh.
Lisbon, the second.
Liquefaction.
Yeah, Lisbon fell in the sea, a bit like that Norwegian little town John showed you on his last post. I showed that on my last post too. It's just incredible to think the ground you're standing on can just liquefy and vibrate, sink into it, or just fall into the sea. And like you say, this place is just all water. The land's tiny compared to the water. If you go on globe thinking, a third of this place is land, so tiny little islands in a sea of, So yeah, things I think do slip into the sea. So there's lighthouses. Look, can you see this one?
Yeah.
Far off
don't see many square ones.
Yeah. I think there's some sort of prismatic energy coming through these. I'm not even sure what the technology is, but it's enough to electrify this this dragon here. Do you see it? And blow that up.
Well, that's why I was wondering, are they something to do with refueling? Just because they're all over the ocean in the strangest places, have they got something to do with refueling boats?
Maybe that would work. That could work. Somebody mentioned to me, right, that there was a Russian fella who was really, I used to love the way he thought, Sergei, and he stated, this was about 3 years ago, mind, all this way back as well. I think that in Tartaria they were using balloons. He said, I think that they got on the jet stream, and I think that they could have got around this place in no time at all, and they knew where the winds were. It's like, that's highly interesting. How would they slow down? He said, that's where the moe come into it on Easter Island. He said they used to put nets between them, and when they come in from the shore, they used to capture them. I was like, whoa! The way they catch planes on an aircraft carrier. He went, yeah. I was like, whoa! He sold it well. Look at the skyscrapers in the background, though, for our old antiquity. Proper skyscrapers.
Yeah.
What's that? Like, how many stories I wouldn't even like to say. Skyscrapers are not a new phenomenon. There's no doubt about it. So fighting dragons, and you find all these old buildings up on high ground. Wonder why that is. You'll see these all the time. It's electric used in a far off distant past when it's not supposed to be. Check that out though.
Is that an elephant?
Yeah, the elephants in front of the Triclonome in Paris, part of the Exposition. So like, but when you look at photographs, there's one out there. I put it on my phone there a while back. The place looks completely wrecked and old, And this thing's all covered in muck and cobwebs, like the thing's never been looked at, or like they just arrived. Really weird. Looking at that picture now, it was really, really weird. So yeah, electricity. Sparrow off into the past. That's Versailles. So, you know, nearer to the time of Louis XVI. And we trace this back being used into the 1700s, even further back. No doubt about it. But there was a stop-off. There's been some sort of switch of time. I think they definitely can accept this now. They've done this with the craziness that's going on. No doubt about it in my mind that they can switch off history. Think of this now, right? They got the narrative for this epidemic. In a generation's time, they can tell people anything they want about what happened in this time. Think about it. They can.
Yeah, definitely.
And how are you going to pick it up? Because we'll all be dead, the older generation.
I mean, and they're changing the narrative. We can see it. They're doing it, you know.
Real time.
Real time in front of us.
Yeah, I know. I've watched history change daily. Wikipedia keeps changing narrative. They keep pulling dates back every time we make discoveries and stuff to try and make it work for them, which it won't.
Yeah, I was doing a video the other day and I was looking up George Soros.
Oh yeah.
And I was on Wikipedia and it was like midnight and I was looking into the foundations that he gave money to, and the first two on the line in Wikipedia were Antifa and Black Lives Matters.
Good God.
And I was half asleep and I went to bed and I got up in the morning to get it on film. I didn't take a screenshot, of course, and they were gone. No Antifa, no Black Lives Matters on the page. Overnight, someone and this was like literally as all these riots were starting.
Shame you didn't save that, man.
I know, I was spewing.
Oh.
I was on the video going, it really was there, believe me.
It's happened to me many times. I've gone double checked like a year later and they completely changed the narrative. Wikipedia are the worst of it. They just make it up as you go along then.
It's just exactly 1984. Like that's what that guy's job was in 1984, wasn't it? He just went into history.
We're going to have the chalky supply increase by 25% next week. Only a couple of days later, they say, nah, there was no chalky. Where did you hear that? No, there's no chalky increase. And everyone's like, hey ho, then, just on with the show. They're doing it now.
Yeah.
And they just go with it.
Yep. And that's what you're seeing now in the streets. People don't know. Well, you can see they've erased history because no one knows what the hell they're doing. They don't know why they're on the streets. They don't know what they're protesting about.
No, they don't. It's sad as well. That really gets to me, actually, that aspect of it all. That they don't know what they don't even know what they mean. Never mind what they're doing.
They don't know what they want.
I've never gone with the crowds, whatever everyone was thinking and stuff. Even when I was a kid, I would just... I wouldn't even go one side of the coin or the other side. I was like, I would just be like, I'm having nothing to do with any of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, my philosophy was there's clearly something wrong with the world. It's clearly backwards and going the wrong way. So if the majority of people, are all thinking the same, well, they're creating all the bad crap. So it makes sense to go the exact opposite way.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to project either, because that's what, I get like a lot of people got a download on me for some reason. Yeah, like I have a lot of emails where like I have life stories. Like, don't mind. I'm really happy to, people trust me to share their stuff with me, but some of it is like really emotionally draining. It's like, wow, did you really have to tell me that? So it's hard work really, especially at this time, because people are stuck in, and I just find people are reflecting on the past, which is no good. I don't do that. To me, I live in the now.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree. The past is the past. You can't even prove the past exists.
Can't even prove where you're now. We can't even prove that. We can't prove anything. No man can prove anything that he says, and that's a fact in this place. Happy hats. I think they were tech.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're the same as are on the pagodas and everything. Those hats. Oh, sound tech.
Yeah, that's coming. I'm surprised they haven't utilised this in these disturbances in America yet, but they will. They will. But if they do that, it'll give the game away about what 5G can 2C. But they're using it, and they have used it, and they used it. I watched this technology get used during that Panama thing. Yeah. DNA tuning and the bastardization of music, and it shows you how this technology works. It's just, it's there.
That was Go, wasn't it? The 440.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that there. That's oh, flipping out. I think it's in road, but look at it. Look at who's it built for anyway. Why is it so ginormous? I thought it was Covent Garden then, but looking at them signs, they look French. So I think it's a French equivalent.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like houses, but inside.
Well, what classical painting up here? You know, the effort.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this, and that's a big painting.
It's a big painting. Yeah. Why? When not many people are going to even see that up there, are they really? Look.
Yeah, I know. It's like, quick, stop, look up, look up.
You'll find that with the Phoenician buildings. You'll find all of the ornamentation is all on the top when nobody's really going to see this stuff. It's just meant.
High.
So, what am I looking at here? Excuse me, let me just get out of there. So, yeah, just a random look at pictures. That's my idea of what Tatalia was still looking like just towards the end. It's a really early picture of Boston. But look at the tech. What would be the purpose of this tower on the end of them all? Portals in the top. And these giant windows or portals on all these apexes you always get. And they're always high, you know, what would be the point? And they're always highly decorated as well. Just, that's a beautiful one. I've seen that in real life. That's in in Bruges in Belgium. It's just the architecture in Belgium is just out of this world.
I did a video on it about a year ago. It's got canals and everything, hasn't it?
Oh, Bruges! Have you ever seen the film in Bruges? They show you a lot of it there. They stick lights in the canals that illuminate all the water on the buildings. You get that ripply effect, and it's all different colours as well. Oh, it's out of this world. I absolutely love Bruges. Yeah, I just looking in awe of the beauty of the place. You know, all vines down the ancient buildings into the canals. Nothing spoiled modern day. You don't do that.
No, yeah, they've kept that. Like, that's a full-on Tartarian city. That one.
That's Charleston during the American Civil War.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Check that Tartarian building.
Yeah.
We've got later arrivals here, no doubt about it. But that is like, how many times have we seen buildings like that?
It's ridiculous. And what's that, 1860? So
1860s, yeah, 1865, say.
So not even 150 years after they first landed.
Oh man.
And they've built all this.
Hardly any population, huh? And that's in
yeah, exactly. And the industry is what gets me. Is what, you know, they say, they built this. Yeah, well, you know, where'd you make the bricks? Where'd you make the iron? Where'd you make the glass? Where'd you make the pipes? Where'd you get the cement? Where'd you get the mortar? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I covered the bricks for the East Coast, and I looked into Barry stone and Hardwick stone and the narrative for their quarries. And when all of these things were being made in apparently New York State, okay, Hardwick stone wasn't even producing stone, and neither was Barry stone. You know, you can't even place them together with the quarries that the stone was supposed to go from. So I don't know. These things. You ever seen this one before?
No, that's like a lighthouse on a cathedral.
Yeah, it's in the States. I think it's in Philadelphia. It's absolutely crazy. But it looks like it's like it's Moorish, isn't it? It's like something out of Arabia or something, but a little bit of the Tartars going on there.
And these bits, they're always the same, aren't they? With the windows and the dome. Yeah. They're like cathodes.
Yeah, I love these little American Tartar field towns. There's, you know, some of them, like Portland in Oregon. You know, I know it got destroyed in a fire, but it still exhibits the best architecture. Portland. That's somewhere I would like to visit. But they all do. Look at the state of that. And look at the windows down here.
Windows.
Why would you put windows when this thing floods? It's just like, wow. I know.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's the missing people. We've seen this many times in St. Petersburg, haven't we? But I look at them every time and I think, where's the rest of it? Half of it's missing. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
It should be like this bit should be like down here. This whole building is like just missing, really. But you go to the effort to make such architecture as like Peter the Great was supposed to have done. You would have a few pavements, maybe a few fountains, and a few something, or maybe some people would be nice.
You know, like just a road so you could, you know, get the builders there.
Duck boards, wooden boards on mud in this city.
Like,
yeah, wooden boards on mud with that architecture.
To cart all this stone around. I know it's
just insanity, isn't it? It's just insanity.
Ridiculous.
So, ooh, look at that one.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's no, why so many knobbly bits, you know? Now I know it's tech, the whole stats makes sense, but wow. And that bit at the top, that looks like a Tesla coil or something.
It does. I mean, what did these things do when they were working? Wouldn't it'd be so fun to just be able to turn one back on, wouldn't it?
Well, you know, we have surmised was that one. What did that cause the last mud flood? Did you know, the technology, you know, cause a massive catastrophe? You know, look at the size of this device, right? There's no doubt in my mind, right? Because it's got like these towers again, nesting technology, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably on top again 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
But these blowholes, look at the size of this portal. It's like a giant speaker, and you got them all here as well, behind this later arrival thing. But like, and there as well. So whatever this building was, it was creating huge amounts of resonance. For what? What if that overspilled? What if it went wrong one day and, you know, caused a resonance of the earth, you know, or a liquefaction? Because, you know, it was that frequency like Tesla's earthquake machine, you know? That caused an oscillation. Same with these things, with these portals. It's not aesthetics. You haven't got to put that window in that to be aesthetically pleasing. Oh, that looks nice, that round window in that building, because it just doesn't even fit.
Yeah, that one doesn't at all. It's oversized, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a speaker on an old radiogram my mother used to have in the same shape. Yeah?
Yeah.
You get that? I know. Mad, isn't it? But look at that decoration in Venice.
It's interesting, like you say, that everything's up high. I mean, obviously, I guess if they're drawing energy from the sky, yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, all the juices and all of the antiquity as well. You do decorate the bottoms, but I mean, you know, even in my city, you've got to look up. And once you look up, it's like, wow, I didn't really see all that there. There's just statues everywhere. But look at this. When did they ever built like this in the modern day? In the last 100 years, maybe? No. And I think that's a Tartarian lady. Well, these are old screenshots. I haven't seen these in the 10th of never. But these are of Venice. And that's that portal again, that giant. This is some sort of strange, actually. This is a strange astronomical clock.
Oh.
I got a picture of it in colour. Can't work out what it is. It's just crazy. I think it's one of those originally. I think it was a flat earth clock, and I think it was one of those reverse clocks as well, because they got them. There's one in the Czech Republic on a Jewish synagogue, and it can equally tell a time in reverse. So
what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. Read my book, brother. I've got an entire chapter on it. It's associated.
So do you think all these clocks on all these towers everywhere and post offices are they? You think they're all retrofitted from...
Clock work. It's to do with 432 and this anomalous gateway through to another dimension, this place that doesn't really exist but is there and is tangible. Call it the fourth dimension if you want. It's connected with that. 432. You know about 432, don't you?
Yeah.
Tesla's code. Or Rodin's code. This code will play infinitely for 369. Goose drank wine. Monkey chewed tobacco on a streetcar line. They tell you in social engineering. Apparently, I on Jesuit book said that they were teaching that in the 1600s in schools. Haven't they gone down a bit? It was part of the curriculum back then in university.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, they had smart people back then. I mean, God, all the stuff they were doing. But I mean, even at the turn of the century, you can get the school tests from like 1900, and I think they're like equivalent to like year 11 or something. The year 1s and 2s are like equivalent to our year 11s today.
Yeah, I got a physics book in there from 1880s, and
Wow.
I collect anti-books. I got loads here, atlases and stuff, and it's all about it's all ether, because this is obviously pre-Einsteinian stuff, and it is complex. Honestly, even this is for like a schoolboy's physics book, and it's just it's way over my head. I tried to
Well, that's the
read
thing.
it.
We've been given the wrong foundation, of how we see the world, and so it's very hard. We've got to kind of go backwards down the whole,
I've done
find out
it.
what's wrong, and then come back up again, where they were taught the truth from day dot. So
I've re-educated because we had to learn about languages and stuff, didn't we? I've had to learn about languages. I've had to learn about, just how to interpret this whole thing,
exactly.
So what have we got here? Star footage. I do love my star forts, I've got to be honest. They are a mind blow to behold. That one is what we found. Did you see that with the Amsterdam and New York beaver star forts with exactly the shapes of a beaver's head? I know it sounds crazy, yeah, and they're both identical. You can overlay Amsterdam's on top of New York's harbour, and you will see that is. Look at that star fort. Always guessed me that, the Strasbourg, Argentina. Look at the geometry on that.
And this is the thing. There's always a cathedral. Like if you look at the old drawings, there's always cathedrals in the middle of star forts, which begs the question. We've got all these cathedrals all over the world that don't seem to be in star forts. So are they? What's under the ground?
Mm-hmm. And all of them are always, all of these pictures, all of them are always from a bird's eye perspective, like something's in the sky. Always from the same angle. It's a whole
star thing. You can't even see the star shape until you're up in the sky.
No, I know you can't. It's crazy. You couldn't see it from down here. You just see acute angles, and you wouldn't see the star at all. No.
It's like before, Google Earth, no one really knew of star forts because you could walk around them, in them, climb over them, and you'd have no idea it was a star.
No, you wouldn't. And they never taught about them in school. It was all castles and keeps and stuff. They should have taught us about them. They're far more interesting. So check that out there. Check that out. It's crazy, isn't it?
Is that in the Sahara?
No, that's Palmyra Arch. Palmyra, part of Babylon Empire.
Oh, okay.
And it's just still there. But look at the grid system.
Yeah, because there's stuff like this under the Sahara Desert.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen some of it. I should spend more time on Google Earth. I used to love spending hours on Google Earth, finding stuff in the landscape. I was looking.
It was more fun a few years ago when they'd show you everything.
Yeah, oh, that's true. An interesting place I was looking was Lake Van in Turkey. Boy, did I find some antiquity in that place. Just the most mind-blowing stuff. Ancient Coptic churches. Look at that one, right? That's supposed to be, I got that sent to me from a subscriber. They had it in their house. And it's supposed to be an original English Civil War map of Oxford. Okay? So Oxford University and everything's inside. And they got all of this around the outside. So yeah, so even in the English Civil War, like 1660s, this thing's up and running. 1650s, this thing's up and running, and it's surrounding an entire university city because it's all the elite brats in there. But look, is that really, defendable? Because I'm not being funny. If I was a diver, I could go underwater in a little boat. I could slip through there, or slip through there, or slip through there, or there, or there, or there, or there, or there.
Well, if you think about it, doing all these angles, it doubles or triples the amount of people that you need to man it. If that was just a straight wall and this was like a square, you wouldn't, you'd need a quarter of the people than to try and fill all these walls on the outside.
Well, I never actually thought of that. You're so right.
But the manpower to defend this is like 3 or 4 times as much.
Yeah, you'd need each pinnacle or each promontory manned, and in the straight, you'd only need, dotted around. You need half the men or less.
Exactly, because it also blocks out their line of view.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Constantinople. Oh, these are just crazy. These are out of the Cosmographia 1300s. They show everywhere's got skyscrapers, and everywhere is supposed to be a far off antiquity in a hot country. It's got deciduous trees and a green countryside, like Jerusalem, for example. Yeah, it's just not desert. It's all beautifully green.
Before the bombing.
Somebody mentioned in my comments a couple of days ago about, like, we've always been trying to come to terms with this ordnance. We definitely think some other type of technology is going into these cannons, or the cannons are doing something else, right? And suggested, well, you know, uranium's definitely a thing, isn't it, Matt? I'm like, well, I guess so. The enrichment process seems to be a reality. They used them in the Gulf War, so I'm thinking to myself, they could have enriched uranium earlier on, and they could have put it in a cannonball or some sort of device like canisters, and they could have delivered that on a population, and they would suffer acute radiation sickness, which is very similar to flu. You know, you get the sores, you get the colds, you get the... You know.
Well, we have the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And people there started losing their hair and fingernails. And also with the Ark, if you got too close to the Ark of the Covenant, they took it to some city and put it on show, and everyone who walked past it and had a look ended up getting radiation sickness basically and dying. All their hair and fingernails fell out.
Wow. And Lot's wife turned to stone, didn't she? She looked back when it exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah.
And also, did you know that the Ark of the Covenant fits exactly in the sarcophagus of the Great Pyramid?
Yes, exactly the same dimensions. What's the chances?
Exactly. So it's like a power source for some kind of machine. Because that's what the Hebrews stole, wasn't it? They stole the power source and ran away for 40 years.
Have you ever looked into what, you know, the mainstream say, like Graham Hancock will say it's down in a tiny chapel in Ethiopia protected by a private army, and the guard, the priest that looks after it, he always gets cataracts and dies, and they replace him a few years later.
Yeah, like once you go in you can never come out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure. So these are just giants, obviously. They're all right through antiquity. I think they were here more recently. Look, they're just... There's a lot of 8-footers around in the 30s. There's still giants around now, no doubt about it. I've not seen too many.
Michelle Gibson was saying that basketball was a bit of a cover for giants.
That's interesting, because they're all absolutely humongous. They're giants, aren't they? They're definitely giants in Harlem Globetrotters. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal, that dude's over 7 foot, and he's not skinny.
No, Shaq's a monster, isn't he? That's supposed to be fake, that is, but you know, we can't really say if it's real or not. But I think it would have made world news if it would have been. But he's not fake. He's a descendant 7 foot of Genghis Khan.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, that's a Tatar. He's in Ulaanbaatar. So Mongolian capital.
A lot of these leaders seem to have been giants, don't they? Alexander the Great was a giant, wasn't he? And
yeah, Noah was a giant. He was supposed to be the last good giant. Og, I always say Oggy, don't I, in my Welshness. And Og as a giant apparently had a bit of a thing going on, a battle going on with his nemesis, who was Moses. We did a good kicking to Moses, because Moses was apparently a murdering psychopath. So Og was a very good giant and gave Moses a good kicking. I read an entire narrative about it from an ancient document. It was mind-blowing. So,
is that the same Og as from England? What was it called? Oh, God.
King Og. Og the giant. Yeah. So he's a Welsh.
What was England called before it was England?
Well, there's a few names. It's Albion, Britain.
Albion, that's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
So,
and that's different to Gog and Magog, isn't it? Who are the evil ones?
Well, I think all of these biblical characters that you read about, Noah was for sure a giant, and they say that Noah's Ark here, this is from apparently a Masonic lodge dating back to the year 1593, showing the actual giant body of Adam. And I've seen other depictions in lead atlases where it's almost as if that they're bringing Adam, a giant, like a tomb, in the earth. But yeah, so Noah was a giant.
That looks.
Ham.
That reminds me. Oh, sorry, I was just looking at that. It reminds me of the picture of Caligula's boat when they were transporting the obelisk from Egypt, apparently.
Oh.
To the Vatican.
They use something like that, don't they?
Yeah, it was very sort of similar. That's just, and that they found also what's that old book, the Gilgamesh.
Yeah, Epic of Gilgamesh. Sure. Yeah, cool.
They found him buried under a river, didn't they? Yeah. In a big box like that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one as well. This is a bit like it. There's 3 stories to it. But yeah, you see these books around in antiquity which show you beautiful giants in beautiful silks, like we think the Hyperboreans look like, because basically the book of Olaf Johnson, the Smoky Giant, states that their visits there to the Hyperborean, these giants were really, really nice people, very civilized, beautiful clothes, like you see here. I think that if they did come from anywhere, it would be the Hyperborean. Further north, we don't know what's north. We haven't got any idea what's going on up there, or anywhere in this place. We could be just like privy to 10% of what this place is, or even less. This place could be infinitely big, all we know.
Yeah, well, exactly. All we know is what we see on the box, and that's just what the controllers want us to see.
Yeah. There could be, in my mind, I'm a purveyor of. I think there's water above, and I think they're above the water dome. I think is held in place by an acoustic frequency that comes off of Mount Meru, because you can keep water in stasis with a high frequency sound. So that could be weakening. Lower levels of the dome have been written about in antiquity as falling down when the sky fell in, chicken licking, the sky's falling in, and a sea above. And above that could be more land. This place doesn't feel conducive to the size of Titan, so I'm thinking that they could be outside of this place, like the Olympians looking in.
So we could literally be like the Atlantis they show us, with the little dome over a city under the ocean kind of thing.
Well, people don't think big enough. They think it's impossible, but not really. This place is small. I was in the Merchant Navy. I've covered a lot of this place, right? It's not big. And it's only 24,000 miles around, 12,000 miles across. Yeah, it's just like a small place. Yeah, if you're thinking in the terms of hundreds of thousands of miles, then this is a drop in the ocean. Yeah, plenty of giants in the past. I was intrigued by them.
And so that's the thing that gets me about like this whole Titans thing, and the giants that have turned into mountains and the giant elephants and things, is always the Earth's not big enough. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. It's but like you say, maybe the Earth is a lot bigger than we're told.
Well, a lot of people are surmising, talk about, is the fall of man, the biblical fall of man, the fall of us, and was it us that were big? Was it us because of our consciousness has been suppressed, or pulled down onto a lower or a higher entropy when we should be on a lower entropy state, and this is what we could have been, or even bigger. So have we been shrunk? Did they shrink us? Have we been lessened? In all ways. Now look, that's
it's the food they feed us as well.
It's all of it. It's a constant bombardment on all of our senses, through all of it, and it's all negative energy as well. The whole paradigm of what we've been taught with in schools and telly and everything, the way we think, is led to this state we're in now, and it's nothing to do with who we are at all, any of it, and it's really not. We don't need any of what they give us. Okay.
No, they've just tricked us. And what about age? Do we die before 100 because we believe humans can't, that 100's old?
It's brainwashing. It is.
What if 500's young and we're just taught the wrong thing, and we're killing ourselves through our thoughts?
We are killing ourselves through our thoughts. We are doing that. They are giving us like birthdays. You blow out a certain amount of candles every birthday, and they keep telling you got to be a certain way when you're a certain age. If you're 50, you should be like this. You should be like that. They tell you got X amount of time. This is what you should be doing, and everything is. It's like no, you shouldn't. You don't. If you didn't listen to any of that, and I think aging can be reversed because if it's a mental process, which it is, then it can be reversed. Leaf out of British Sub came out with in the last week or so. He's convinced that every time you look in the mirror, it ages you.
Yeah, right. Could be true.
It's sort of telling us, Well, it's encoded. Everything we've been learning has been encoded or just deciphered, really. And the Phoenicians are telling us that. They're telling us that. And we thought at first it was about vanity. Yeah, which is a puzzle in itself. I think, by time. And I think that it's not. I think that it ages you every time you look in a mirror. I think it can be reversed, though. I think the knowledge in it can reverse the process. But
they've got a jellyfish. I think it's a jellyfish in America, and they've kept it. It's been alive for something like 100 times longer than it should have been.
Right.
And they fast it. They're just fasting it. They fast this bloody jellyfish until it hits a point where it goes into ketosis and starts to rebuild stem cells and basically rebuilds itself, and then it'll go off and live for its lifetime, and then they starve it back and put it on a fasting again, and it regenerates itself.
That's wild. That's like a tumbleweed of fish.
Done it like 100 times.
That's crazy. I was thinking, like North American Indians or even Aboriginals and stuff, some of them won't have their photographs taken. They say, no, it steals your soul. So if there was an element of truth in that, would that affect the timeline? What I'm saying is if everyone, like 1 billion people a day, are taking photographs and Instagramming, or photographing everything, would that be detrimental to the timeline?
Is it, you mean the photos act like a kind of a resonant, like somatic almost, like you've sort of just, you've captured that energy imprint of that certain time, which makes it real in a certain aspect, in a certain place, and we get all this crap added to us and all these different split-off realms. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's I think it's I can feel it now. I'm getting goose pimples, but I'm thinking every time a photograph is taken, that instant happens. That whole dimension of that photograph, which is locked in a moment of time. So that it's there, it exists, and the portal of time has been removed, so it's endless because it can last in an image or what have you for time. And what about the person that's locked in that instant?
Yeah,
they
right.
split off into a parallel dimension when that instant happens. And if they're doing that with scathing mirrors all day long, what would that do to the timeline?
Wow. And what would that do to people's mental health? If you're fractioning yourself off?
What would be the original timeline?
What would be the original timeline? Oh, God. And see, this is what I've been thinking about this time, is it feels like there's going to be a split, like half the people, more than half are like happy to sit down and eat their KFC and watch telly and stay here, where a lot of people are going to, whatever, up the vibration. Does that mean we go to a different realm, a different vibratory plane, at the moment? But like you say, if that's been happening 1 million times a day...
If you think of this thing in this reality in the form of a simulation, like a computer game.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're a player in reality, which you are, because you're now an active player in the whole story of reality. Okay, which you are. So there are other players or people in reality when not players, which they're regarded as NCPs, aren't they? They don't seem to have any valid reason for being here, but yet they're here. So if you think of it in computer levels, and say you get to another level where this acceleration is happening now, in a game form, okay, and say you was to die, and then what would happen?
Yeah.
You just respawn.
Start again.
No, I've seen the reason I think this, right? I know it sounds insane, right? But there's stuff in this realm that I've seen, okay, that they say that doesn't exist. I've experienced stuff in my life, okay, the paranormal, okay, which they say doesn't exist, and I don't care what anyone tells me or what anyone says. This stuff went down, and this stuff I've seen, and this stuff's been happening my entire life, okay. Now, how can I reconcile that in my mind? That this, you know, this stuff's happening. To me, it would make more sense because I can, you know, we can affect reality, okay, with that intent, which proves that this reality around us is mind and us, making us like gods, making us like, you know, if we all have the vibration exactly the same time, which will happen, and it is a wheat from the chaff time, there's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. Yeah, this next couple of months is like the Watchers or what have you. It's time for everyone to find out who they are, get right, and ready for the next stage. Otherwise, it won't make it. It's like the last waltz, if you like. You know, spiritually, this is the time. No, right now.
Well, it's just so. Like the world's shut down. Does anyone even understand?
No, because
when you stop and think
know.
about that, it's just what the hell is going on?
Trying to work the psychology. At first, people were in shock, wasn't they? Like this shit's not really happening, and then it evolved into everyone's getting, like in my area, they're getting a bit angry, frustrated, not trusting the government, wanting answers.
Yep.
Yeah, and now you've got all this trouble in America. In my community, everyone knows this is a psyop because they don't think like that around you. So, I honestly think if we are going to talk about that, what's happening, I think that was just the intro. That was them testing. I think they come up trumps. They got everything they wanted. They got the whole of humanity locked down. Nobody played up too much outside of when they wanted them to, controlled with their people, their armies, their police forces, and now they know that they can just pull anything on us at any time. Yeah, you know, that's why I worried about this week. I get this anomalous phone call. People suggest, you know, government suggesting I might have any mental health problems. Last week I read a document which states in their protocols that if you are not rational or mentally equipped to be safe in the community concerning an infection, so if I'm not rational, I could infect people, then they could remove you from your house and take you somewhere.
Jeez, somewhere.
So, you know, there's like, even not towing the party line, or not consenting, or not complying, or even doing what we do now, maybe they could just bring in an insane draconian law overnight saying that anybody who's not with this, it's clearly insane. The proof is there, you know. That's what they'll do. I mean, they could try it.
Look at antiquity. Look what we see. You know, the insane asylums are always the biggest buildings in the city.
This is why I'm thinking this. This is why I posted about it. And this is why I know they do this. And what you know, and a lot of these people in these insane asylums, they weren't insane. Some of them were just in there for being poor.
Yeah, definitely. Single mothers and all types of stuff.
Yeah.
And there was that shaman who went into a mental health ward a few years ago, and he went in and he looked at the nurse, or she took him in to say, you know, can you give us any advice? And he said, well, in my culture, these people are the healers. What are they locked up here for?
Got me thinking again now. Oh, I need to study more on the llamas. They seem to have the key to this reality. Like you say with, you know, the no food or the purging or the, you know, did the Tatarians even need food? You know, were they Breatharians? Do we even need food? Is food even a part of our reality?
I've thought of this before too. I mean, because, you know, when you eat bad food, you can feel the energy. You can feel you just get heavy. And heaviness is physicalness, isn't it? Like heavy energy is what this realm is.
Yeah.
It's the heavy solidified energy. And so, yeah, the more heavy food you eat, that seems to make you feel a bit more solid, doesn't it? And a bit more heavy.
Terrible. So what if that was a Phoenician scam? You know, you see they bring the cow and they bring the wine and everything else. You know, the part of the we need animals to survive. But think about it, like, you know, taking upon the soul or part of the flesh or the essence of, well, I may be taking on the essence of, you know, thousands of creatures in my life.
This is the other thing, is food and like fractal food. Have you heard of food signatures?
No.
No, so like food signatures. So like if you get a carrot and you snap it in half and look at it,
yeah,
it looks like an eye.
Yeah.
Carrots are good for your eyes.
Oh,
tomato.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, tomato is about the size of your heart. It's got 4 chambers in it, same as your heart. It's red like your heart. It's very good for your heart. Walnuts, shaped like your brain, very good for your brain.
Wow.
Kidney beans, good for your kidneys. Celery,
what are bananas
like
good for?
Very good for your bones.
Wow.
Sorry, what good for?
Bananas.
It's true. It's good for the long thing with lots of seeds in it.
Yeah, I never heard of that before. That's amazing. I can see how that works.
Yeah, it used to be part of the science of, you know, herbology and that, back before we got all this crappy Rockefeller medicine.
It actually makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It looks like a heart. I bet it's good for your heart. And
the thing is, it's all, the way I look at it is like fractals. Like if we're energy, if you can think of a tomato has a certain, you know, signature, a certain geometric shape or whatever.
Yes.
And so when we eat that, those shapes go into our heart and connect into the right keyholes, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Okay, and so that makes us healthy. That turns everything on, gets everything flowing. But when we start eating processed food, you know, animals, all this kind of stuff,
oh dear,
that those fractals aren't they're not in the food, so they can't lock into the keyholes.
Man, that makes perfect sense, man. I haven't even heard that before. But that's where we should be going. You know, if I ever eat fresh food off a tree, instantly you have a feeling of it or something. You know, just because it's fresh and it's there. You know, it's just beautiful, isn't it? You don't get that from any.
Smells better, tastes better.
Yeah, you don't get anything like that in processed food at all.
No.
Oh wow! I do. I just, you know, I'll eat anything in the countryside. But even originally, you know, how did people know what compounds went with anything? You know, how did they know what was good and what was bad? And, you know, like 2 chemicals for ayahuasca. So they knew that
that's what I was
there,
thinking, yeah.
And then one over there, they mix them together, and that's going to make the 2 like do the business. How did they even know that in the beginning? You know.
And they're literally on the other sides of the continent, the 2 plants.
I know.
So it's not like they were growing near each other.
So how is this happening?
That's got to be chemistry, because when you look at the chemicals in there, one's gives you the not THC, the
what in the ayahuasca?
The chemical in ayahuasca is but anyway, I can't remember the name. But one of them gives you the chemical that you need to hallucinate and trip out, and the other one's an inhibitor.
That's right.
Of what's in our body that stops it working normally.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be chemistry. Someone's got to have looked at the chemistry of these plants and worked out, if you put this with this, you'll get this effect, because this will give you the drug and this will stop your body inhibiting it. It can't be, there's no way it could be trial and error.
Well, originally, like, I just can't get over any of it. It just, that paints towards this place as being, like, you know, like you could say, like, created by a creator, which, because I was a creationist up until relatively recently. But look at technology in the future. You know, I used to look into Bockström, that Swedish scientist, years and years ago, where he said there was an actual equation that said the chances of the technology, the processing technology, in the future arriving at a point where they could easily run like a simulation of this place and no one would even notice was like astronomically, you know, it was like a definite in this equation. But this thing, you know, it's hard to come to terms with the shifts, the acceleration, all of this was happening, the awakening, the way everyone is feeling, the way everyone in this place is sharing the same feeling at the same time. It's just like, Wow. It's just the most mind-blowing thing ever. Ever.
It's a strange place.
I just keep feeling that something fantastic and wonderful is going to come out from it all. Oh, I don't know why I keep feeling that. I've never been bugged about it. I know it's a terrible darkness that's fallen upon everything. You know, we've just found ourselves in the worst Marxist dictatorship imaginable. This is Pol Pot on acid, on steroids. This is the worst. And we haven't even got a taste of what they're going to do yet. And I know the way this is going to go. You read 1984, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you know the way this is going. You know, you got like grasses now. So like after 9/11, it was just everyone hating on the Muslims. Okay, now everyone's paranoid, and the worst type of paranoia. You can get me killed and my children killed. So paranoia, suspicion, between everybody. Look at that in Chicago World's Fair. Have you seen that?
That's mad, isn't it?
Bigger than the London's Eye. It was biggest. I think this is the key as well. I think that they have these in all like big cities, in Hamburg, in London. You will see a Ferris wheel.
These are almost like train carriages.
They're massive.
Imagine if this was picking up a train carriage and taking it up to the top, and it was getting picked up by a Zeppelin and flown off somewhere.
Right. See this, sure. I got a photograph of this, right, where there's like about 5% of it left. Everything you see in that picture is destroyed by fire. They destroyed the Chicago Exposition. They've destroyed many expositions by fire. And that's not the Chicago fire, that's a separate fire. And I mean, when you look at that site, right, this is like a nuclear bomb has hit it. There's just 10% of it left, this bit here, and a bit of this gantry. And everything else is completely flattened. That there's not there. Nothing is there.
I mean, the amount of molten metal that must have gone on the ground if that got melted would be ridiculous.
Just the fact that they're supposed to be, you know, just fire is supposed to be able to take out steel.
Well, you know, 911.
And glass. I'd like to see this carried out in the modern day. So. Oh, that's then cutting the food source of the Native American Indians. That's bison.
Oh, is that the bison? Oh, God.
Yeah. Way to get rid of the people, isn't it? Is cut their food supply. You know, that's how you deplete the population. So that's what they're going to do. That's definitely on the card.
What's happening now.
Yeah. Food shortages.
This is the madness. There's nothing being produced, and no one seems to care.
They will care, because that's when the trouble is going to hit. When the food runs out, people get really nasty about things. I don't think that's there.
Hell?
I don't think it's there. It's apparently, right, I got loads of photographs of the building of the Statue of Liberty. They build it all over in different places in New York, and then they put it on barges, and they build it then on a Fort Wood out in Jersey Bay. Okay, that's the story, the narrative. But like UAP looked into it, I've looked into it. There's maybe 6 photographs of its first, building. Nothing of it being built that's trustworthy. When it opens, 2, maybe 3 really rubbish pictures and nothing about it. This thing, this Statue of Liberty, in my mind, was there originally, and I got a picture of the original looking like Apollo as well, with us, just the Babylonian god version rather than the Liberty version now. So yeah, this is them arriving at Ellis Island. Look, it's good old tartar mud. Look at this mud flood building on Ellis Island. So that's supposed to be the Irish. They don't arrive with much, do they?
No, it's always the same, isn't it? They got their suit, their hat, and their suitcase.
They've just crossed the Atlantic Ocean as well, right? So they'd be a month at sea, or 3 weeks at sea from Ireland.
Yeah. And look how clean they look. They must have had some good bathrooms on those old boats, eh?
They must have had some irons and stuff.
Yeah,
He's well turned out. But you know what I mean? You'd think they'd look like rakes coming off a ship after that long.
And just full of dirty and...
Yeah.
God.
So... That's Brooklyn's Harbour, the banana boats coming in.
Oh, okay.
That's a beautiful photograph. But this is like 1900, and check those skyscrapers, Victorian era as well. So imagine it, you know, 100 years before. If you don't go with the narrative of the, you know, the gold prospectors building all this stuff in the West, it's just insane, isn't it? That's an established world, that is. You can see.
It is. Just looking at the metal on this ship, you know, just like you said, within 50 years, just the amount of metal just in this ship.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
I know. This is another thing. The metal of the Tatarian era as well. The incredible wrought iron. It doesn't seem to be the same stuff around now. They just, all of them bridges are still there in Britain. That was in my city in Cardiff. We had stacks of these buildings and they knocked them all down. I remember this one. But look at these for mud flooders. Yeah, a lot of my cities like this, all gone. Placed it all with just rubbish.
Yeah, they're still doing it in Perth. They're still knocking them down and putting crap up.
This is something that I would like to see happen, right? Is like sections of like public paths permitted like for allotments or to grow wheat or food, in case like everything should go, hit the fan. Then we could all have our own food, but they won't even permit that. They won't even allow us to grow our own stuff. But times past. Yeah, World War II, World War One, they used to like utilise even a bit of green outside these civic buildings and stuff to grow wheat and stuff. So they did the same Cardiff as well, all the public paths in World War II. I've got a couple of photos for parsnips and carrots and cabbages and stuff. Hospices, hospitals and hotels seem to be part of this story. A lot of them go up in flames. Hospital as well, I try to work out the etymology on the word. It's like, can't really work out what that word means.
Hospitality,
It seems like toll at the end as well, doesn't it? Hospital. Seems a toll at the end. I don't think originally hospitals were hospitals. I don't think, these buildings are too vast.
I don't think they needed them back then. I think the cathedrals were the hospitals, weren't they?
Yeah. Look at this then. That's in Tokyo, full Tata. I love these stereoscopic images. But yeah, you want to see some of the centre of Tokyo, before the destruction of World War II. It's all Tatarian. It's all like these big buildings.
I've seen a few photos. They've still got a really big train station.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that's Detroit. I love this building in Detroit. This one, yeah. So yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. They're all in the same similar red brick theme. This thing. So somebody took these for me. I think this is in New York. But I can see these everywhere. I bet all of us can now, can't we, when we go out?
Yep, yeah, those are everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. So, yeah, before and afters. This is like San Francisco, something I'm obsessed with. I can't stop, watching videos and looking into this. It just blows my mind to think this was what it looked like in 1900, 6 years later. Everything's in dust. Everything is literally small stones. Except for part of this.
It's huge. It looks a little bit like the library in
Oxford.
Is it Ottawa, Canada? Have you seen the one in Canada?
Yeah, definitely. It looks like the one in Ottawa. It looks like the one in Cambridge called in Oxford called the Oxford Camera, and it's exactly the same style. And I was wondering whether there was something more going on with these, because these are supposed to be libraries, right? Yeah. But they're in a circular way. There's something different going on with these. Something definite. And the rotunders I'm talking about, there's just something going on about them. They're in islands. I've seen stacks of these, and they're all ornamental. Beautiful. Like little cakes. So, there it is, 1900. That's a beautiful Tatarian slab. Half of it missing somewhere below ground level. And there it is, 1906. Just like a nuke. Sorry, it's not a big shot, but better. Like a nuke has hit it, if they were a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's stations as well, like Penn Street Station. Yeah.
I've seen that one. I've done a vid on that one. That's ridiculous, that building.
Yeah, it's just temples all the way around. So it's just this, like, literally insane amount of temples. How many columns a year anyway? Just wow. Didn't last long though, did it?
No.
Why bother building it? Same as and that. Why bother building that?
It'd take more work to bloody take these things down almost than to build them.
There was. I done a vlog on it. It cost like you had to plow a load more money in to take this thing down, because he said that it was one of the hardest buildings ever to demolish, because it was full of like iron and old technology. I've got like a vlog on one of these American hotels, and it's called the Hotel Machine, and it's all just shows you all the steam power and all the machines underneath, and so
Wow.
yeah, the Waldorf Astoria, they knocked that down. Tesla lived in there when it was looking like that.
Yeah.
Free energy building, and he knocked it down, and they built the Empire State Building on its footprint, and it's on 5th Avenue and 33rd Street. So, yeah, I know. So yeah, Madison Square Gardens, gotta be older. There's no doubt about it. Look at it. And why does it look like it's in Venice? Same windows, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of and hippodromes. Because in the Roman version of hippodromes, there's a bit of a story to it. We think these are something as well. You know, it's because of the name, the drone, the hippodrome. What does it mean? But look at it. What the hell is that?
That's that thing.
And look at the doors, all below ground level, and windows.
Portals. And also theme parks. What were theme parks? You know, like the Luna parks and stuff.
Something with them as well. And fairgrounds as well. The fairgrounds of old. They hark back to something else. They're all lower vibration. They're all based on horror. They're all dark. You know, Ghost Train, etc. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
They're not nice places. You always get ripped off and throw up anyway. And it's a fair. You've got to pay a fare. So you go to a fairground, but a fair is paying something, isn't it? Or it's fair as in fair. I don't know. I think there's more going on with fairgrounds. I think they were sinister places to grab kids in the past. Is what I think.
Yes.
Maybe. Or something sinister. Because they're always evil places, aren't they? They're not nice.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So, do you know what that is? That was in Detroit between 1871 and 1961. Was a moonlight tower, which had halogen lamps on it.
Oh.
They used them in America for quite some time, so they would illuminate the entire central square using like strong halogen lamps. They were called moonlight towers. Good.
Wow, back then they had halogen lamps. I did not know that.
Yeah, from 1871. Then I've done vlogs on them as well. Yeah, they were using them, and this was a similar time they were using a thing called limelight in theatres, which was basically hydrogen being burnt for a light, and it gave off a shallow green colour. So
Yeah, right.
the Washington Capitol building. So look at that, Galveston, Texas. Beautiful little tartar building.
And so this is what we're told was the wild, wild west almost, isn't it, down Texas town?
It's not. No, what I've seen,
California.
I've done ones on Austin and Houston, and the centres are just all like this. And there's Portland. Portland is beautiful. Look at it. It's just all like that. Portland, all the architecture. Just crazy. Somebody sent me an email saying about clues in the Addams family. They're old money. They're from the old world. The doorman Lurch is a giant. They use free energy because Uncle Fester lights out like bulbs in his mouth. Yeah. Yeah. And if you just like, there's so many clues on the Addams family, and there is as well. Yeah, it says anyway in the narrative they're based on old money, so I think they mean their old world. They're in a Tatarian house. So yeah, Portland's Exposition also destroyed. Portland had a terrible fire. Most of these cities had fires in America. I'm sure if you follow all of this, definitely know. I was looking into Spokane a couple of days ago. I've already done a vlog on it, but somebody mentioned, I'm from Spokane, it's got great architecture. I said, did you know your city was completely destroyed by fire? They were like, no. I didn't know anything about that. I'm just trying to move my screen down, blocking my way into my pictures. What's the time here? It's nearly 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock my end. What's the time your end?
Yeah. How are you doing? Do you want to...
I'm on for a little bit more. Just got my phone's going like the clappers. I saw my family and that, my son. Yeah, so Seattle, as you know, completely torched. Nothing left. Looks like Hiroshima, same as you'll find with Boston, Chicago, which is part of the Prestige fire. That was so big that ash landed on the Azores from the Chicago fire. Yeah.
Wow.
Both St John's, Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, both St John's obliterated. Halifax, in some anomalous ship explosion, destroyed. Philadelphia, and look at this. Look at these towers of mud. Well,
Yeah.
30 foot in the air above this house here.
Like,
Just the nuttiest thing.
where did it come from?
It's the part of this leveling of, like, they say that they've done it to Chicago. They literally tell you that they have men jacking up giant department stores with jacks in the mud. Right, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Seattle, I got pictures of them here as well, where they literally level the city, they say, by removing hills. They did the same with Kansas City, but in the photographs, the buildings are ancient and already there. So, there it
The
is.
regrading, yeah. There's that, like, St. Mary's Church or whatever as well, isn't there? Just sitting up on a bit of dirt.
So
Is that a totem pole?
Yeah, this is interesting, that one there. You've noticed that. So that's in the centre of the square, and they got a proper Indian totem pole. I would say that was an original left there, from when this was probably, you know, that could be ancient, couldn't it?
It could be very ancient, and it's very big, very obelisk-like.
You know, look at the width of that. That's like an oak tree wide. Compared to that person, it's like
Yeah,
massive.
big. It's huge.
And look at the doors on these here as well. See, I got buildings that look identical to that. Everyone has in their cities. It's just, they use the same architecture, same windows, same theme.
Yep, it's all the same. So it's got to be, you know, the whole geometry of it has got to be, it's got to have some meaning, because everything's completely symmetrical, always the same shaped windows, the same porticos, the same pillars, the same everything.
It's just insane level of destruction, and you know, it's just, I think to myself, what, like, so all American cities are completely destroyed for this type of architecture.
And see, this is what gets me as well, is we've got all these destroyed cities, but then in all these cities we still seem to have old buildings, like a lot of old buildings.
Yeah, well, it's the selected, some of them were like financial districts and stuff, like all of this was, in Seattle, was the seafront, so it was like, you know, maybe 20 blocks in, and then you get like all of this part of the city, which would be unaffected. So maybe one or two get revamped. I see what you mean, though, but yeah, you can see, and you find it with all the cities. It's not like maximum destruction, you know, but some of them were, some of them
just some of those photos you see, it looks like they've just been carpet bombed, and then you see the cities today and they look full of these Tartarian buildings, and you sort of go, well, when did they build them? Did they get destroyed and rebuilt up? Is someone playing with the timeline here?
You know, how do you reconcile that sort of destruction for, you know, a fire? And that's an entire city. This is Boston, yeah? Exactly the same period. I think Boston was 1871. All of these are all in like literally the same decade, if you like, where they're all destroyed. You don't see the same thing in the modern day. You don't see an American city destroyed in the modern day by a random fire. You don't see these things happen in the same scale in Europe at the same time as random cities going up. Maybe Paris did, 1871, yeah it did, same year. Same year as this, as well. Paris went up in flames in what was supposed to be an insurrection or a war. Franco-Prussian War.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those pics. And most of these fires, they tell you they were started, you know, in a rubbish bin, or if someone was cooking a sausage or something, and it burnt the whole city of brick down. But we have 911 where jets full of jet fuel fly into a building, set it on fire, yet nothing else is touched.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just insane for the level of destruction. And it all bullshit narrative. I've never heard one good story. I think you just nailed it. I think, you know, the cow hit over a pot, and the pot, you know, was unattended or something. You know, they just make up absolute rubbish every time. But
It's
look
ridiculous.
Look at the size of these buildings as well. Like, you know, they're all like in Victorian clobber, and they're like 4 or 5 story masonettes. Just beautiful houses. See that building there?
Yeah.
That is incredible. What is that? I usually mag up and check the backgrounds to see if there's bricks and doors blocked up to see if it's
yeah, within them.
So yeah, it's vast scale destruction in Boston as well as you name it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's everywhere.
Yeah, Kansas City had a leveling, which is one of the most insane outside of I guess outside of Seattle. But look at this architecture. I love these shroppy images. They are absolutely beautiful.
Look at the size of these
so
people.
Clear. Look at that in there. Wow. So I'm guessing that's the opera house. But you know, you get granite on the bottom and it always goes so way up. I think that granite is flood prevention, you know. And I think the upper level windows are for entries. You know, when if you can imagine like the water comes up this level, so they can walk in there off a boat, or if it came up this high to this level, they can just pull up and go through there. You know, you find it with all the buildings, like they got flood prevention on them for some reason. And always that red granite at the bottom, so that it, can not get eroded as much. You know, they're always thinking ahead with these buildings. I noticed that. So, get it on a bit. So,
definitely built for good, weren't they?
Yeah, look at that for amazingness. When are they ever going to build that in the modern day? So yeah, this one got destroyed as well. Terrible destruction of... Oh, sorry, that's the underground in Paris. Yeah. But that's already there, that arch. I know.
I was going to say, it looks like more like they're uncovering it than building it.
All right, yeah. Well, think of it from a builder's terms, okay? So if they've just come along and they put the shuttering in, okay, the wood, and they've laid bricks, which it looks older to me, right? Then with the pillars that will hold it in place when they dig it out. To build a column like this, you have to have walls retaining either side, and then this over the top. That's how it works.
Yep.
You can't start from the top, work down, because there's nothing to hold it. You see what I'm saying, can't you?
Yeah, definitely.
So that makes no sense. Yeah. So that thing's there already. They just like, you can see old walls here as well. Looks like
that's almost like a window or something.
Yeah, I've got some of these where you can see like they're pulling concrete out and old, just ancient stuff from where the underground was already older. So yeah, they've leveled many cities. This is for Kansas, but this building, you're mud that high, okay? So which came first, the mud or the building? That makes no sense to me, because there's no like stone in this. This is earth. So this is
weird.
The leveling, they say in the narrative. What you see is mud up to these windows this high, and they had a fire department. They were really nice, their fire pumps. I don't think they were up to much, but they were really, really nice.
Yeah, they were great, but everyone was just standing around posing next to them. I don't think they knew how to use them. God. But it also shows you like what we could be looking at in cities when you see the height of that mud. If you think if it wasn't cleared, like how much is actually underground, we could be talking 3, 4, 5 stories here.
Definitely think it all the time. When they're digging it all out of the mud and regaining a civilization after a mud flood, then a lot of it could be still under there. Look at this, the mud comes up there. They put the front door 30 foot in the air, but you can clearly see the tops of other windows, which are going to be below this mud. So, and it just makes no sense to put doors up in the air unsafe. You put them on ground level, where you can walk in and out and not fall down the stairs and break your neck in the morning when you're half asleep. So yeah, that's the official narrative for it anyway. Is it's a leveling. Well, you see an older civilization. Look at it, absolutely stunning. But always stairs going up, giant doors for bigger people. I got a helicopter now coming, police helicopter. It's always over my area. So that's that stone quarry I looked into as well, which is not producing stone at that period.
In America, yeah, right.
No. Barry stone and Hardwick stone I looked into, and they were supposed to be the suppliers for all of this area. So.
Yeah, it's the same in Perth. We've got one quarry way down hundreds of kilometres from Fremantle, and it was supposed to supply all the stone. And this quarry, it's the stupidest. It's just like a little bit of a rock that someone's hit with a pick. There's nothing there.
So I've stopped sharing the screen now, I think, have I?
You have, yeah. We're going back to your thing.
There I am.
Cool. There you go.
I can pack it in soon. My back's in half. I need a cup of coffee.
Yeah, no, well, it's midnight where you are too, isn't it?
Yes. And what's the time your end?
I think 6. Oh no, 7. 7 in the morning.
What time did you get? At 4 o'clock, 3:30.
4, yeah. God, that was what, 3 hours. Wow.
You're going to be knackered all day now and feeling sleepy.
I might have to go back to bed.
I does it. I've gone back to bed for an hour, then get up and being all right again.
Yeah, it's worth a go. I think I'm feeling starting to die quickly. I think.
Yeah, I feel like that. It's the other end of the day for me, and I'm a bit stoned anyway. I had a bit of the OG cushion, so that was nice.
Nice.
Love a bit of OG.
Yes. Might have to have one and go to bed.
Oh, that was lovely talking to you, Campbell. I'm glad to have hooked up with you at last. Really,
definitely, yeah. Good to chat.
I really like where you're coming from, your work and all of that. You know, you're not about ego and all of that and bigging yourself and none of that. You just does your thing. I love all that. That's just the way it should be, really. You know?
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Man. And your truth's good. You know, keep it clean and it's proper. I love it. So, yeah, full support. Yeah, I'll check this out now and I'll upload it and then you can download it off me, I suppose. Is it?
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. I've put it up and everyone's been yelling, where's this interview? Where's this interview?
I know. I seen the comments, don't worry. When's this happening? They were very excited. I know my peeps were too. It's the same peeps anyway in both chats.
Yeah, a lot of them, exactly, yeah. So it's good,
Anyway. Alright then, I'm here, Campbell, you want to look up and have a chat? I'm here, I'm about. We're on Skype now, brother.
Yep, definitely, mate. I'll be in touch. All right, have a good sleep, mate. Dream well.
Yeah, I'm going to. I should sleep all right tonight. I've walked about 20 miles today. So
5
hours I walked. 5 hours.
Jeez, you're doing well.
I got to get the exercise in, mate. Keep fit.
I know. I'm feeling a bit fat at the moment. I need to get out.
You got to get out, mate. You got to get fit because that's where gets like in a rut. You can't do that.
Exactly, get the energy flowing.
Yeah, man, exactly. Get grounded, feel that earth underneath you.
Awesome. All right, well, awesome to chat to you, mate. And send me that link and we'll get it up.
All right, no stab, brother. Talk soon, yeah?
All right. Talk to you soon. Dream well, mate.
Yeah, and you. No stab, bro.
See ya.
See ya.